Good morning and welcome to a Tuesday edition of Pot with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show planned for you today. Got Buddy Martin and then Hall of Famer Jack Youngblood. I want to thank everyone. Yesterday was my birthday and I got tons of messages, emails, things on Facebook here from the show. I want to appreciate everyone for all their messages. It was a good day and now we move forward. We're going to go straight now to our Titan MR hotline. And we're joined by good old Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show down in Ocala. Buddy, welcome to the program. How are you, my man?
I'm going to get a tag. Can I get a tag? My car says good old Buddy Martin. I kind of like that.
Good old Buddy Martin.
I'm doing okay. Actually, I'm not, but that's what you say on these programs, right? And trying to figure it out like we all are. But, we'll talk about that. And I think individually, we're all dealing with it in a different way. And that's what I want to talk about with you today a little bit. And also on my show tonight, don't want to talk too much about world events and no politics because that's what we don't do, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be, shall we say, interesting the next couple of weeks, to say the least, if not months, if not years.
Buddy, we got a Lauren here, Lauren Meadows, on the Facebook live comment brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred business interruption attorneys. Says, good morning from Dayton, Ohio. We got people tuning in from Ohio.
Yeah, Dayton, he's one of my regular listeners.
Okay.
He's going to be on show with me Wednesday night. Lauren's African-American, which I don't necessarily feel like I have to identify that, except to say I've asked for his perspective on Wednesday night. I think that's one of the places we start, right? We start with trying to just talk to people, which is amazingly how much we've regressed. We used to be able to talk to people. And I got to tell you this final comment about this, and it's your show, will go the direction you want to go. But I've been around a long time. Happy birthday to you, Shane, number one. Secondly, I remember what it's like to be 50, almost. but I can tell you this much. It seems like and feels like, I hate to admit this, but since I went through the 60s, and all the things we went to do, tumultuous time of the 60s regarding race and Selma and all the things with Martin Luther King and stuff. And I think we have regressed back to that, maybe even further. I'm not sure. So that's disturbing.
Yeah, it's I tell you, buddy, it's a shame what's going on in our country right now. And as you mentioned, we're not going to talk politics here, no matter what you believe. This has nothing to do with it, in my opinion. And this is why I've always said that I think, it goes into the work field as well. But sports are so great for people. You can be in the band in high school as well. But if you start playing sports and you're in some type of activity as a youngster, you're going to mingle with all kinds of people, whether they're black, white, Asian, whatever it is. And that's the great thing about being on a team. Some of my best friends are black. And I'm from Mississippi, okay? We all know the history of the state of Mississippi, but it's how you go about things. And I just don't understand it at all. It's a shame what's going on. But I do firmly believe that if you get kids and people involved in sports at an early age, there will be no racism at all, in my opinion.
Well, again, not to dive too deep on this, but what the problem is our country is broken. Our political system is broken. Our politics are broken. I talked to Coach Spurrier just briefly yesterday about talking about Pat Dye, who passed RIP to the former Auburn coach. And we talked about it very briefly. He says, yeah, we just can't get along in Washington. And he said they're going at each other and it drags us into one side and the other. And here we go. So I don't know. I think it starts with this, and I'll get off the soapbox. Each of us has to deal with this in our own personal way. Mm-hmm. It would be nice to think we could be educated and we can learn from this and move on. But I thought we did this once already a long time ago, somewhat. We can always improve the race relations and what have you. I have a lot to learn. I wish I could have done more, et cetera, and all that sort of stuff. But we have a feeling. I had a feeling of despair yesterday. I'm never feel despair. I'm an upbeat person. And I think I feel better today. I don't know why, but we all have to be able to express our own personal feelings because we have all come from so many different perspectives. we all agree it's a sad time in our country. And we all agree that this is broken and we'd like to fix it. Now, how we do it and who does it and where we do it, that's another matter. But like I said earlier and told somebody yesterday, in fact, I told Lauren, I talked to Lauren last night, is that until we can actually identify the problems and stop saying things like the pandemic are a hoax, we're not going to identify the problems. So when you got elements like that who don't even believe what's right in front of their eyes, it's hard to say what is real and what needs to be fixed. So that discourages me somewhat. But I'm hopeful overall. Always have been a hopeful person. Feel better today. Hope I feel better tomorrow. But certainly our country needs a lot of prayer right now.
No doubt. We're speaking with Buddy Martin. You can check him out weeknights on Facebook Live around 9 o'clock, usually when he kicks off his show, The Buddy Martin Show. I'll be on tonight with Buddy. He's on the Titan MR hotline. Buddy, let's talk a little sports now.
Okay.
Obviously, the passing of Pat Dye. He was a tremendous football coach in the SEC. I'm sure you had to do some interviews with him at some point, maybe covered him. Talk a little bit about Pat Dye.
Well, I did a little bit. I remember Pat Dye when he played football in Georgia. How many people can say this? He played for an SEC champion in Georgia. All right. He was a coach, assistant coach with Bear Bryant for 9 years. He also coached East Carolina and Wyoming. And then he was a championship coach 4 times at Auburn. And until he got there, I think Auburn had won 1 SEC title in school history. Who does that sound like, Shane? Some team, until you got there, they had not won any. And so Pat Dye was a monumental figure, is an interesting character, beloved by a lot of people, did some things maybe he shouldn't have done. But as someone said last night on my show, he did things out of love for his players, or as he called them, Tony Barnhart says, his chillins. He used to call them his chillins, being a South Georgia guy. Pat Dye was an iconic guy. He's an original guy, much beloved. And he broke it down like, Alabama people love Alabama football. Auburn people love Auburn. And there is intense love for Auburn University. I have friends who went there, and he is to be remembered for what he did in beating Alabama. I love the quote when he was hired at Auburn. Almost didn't get hired. They said, "How long will it take to beat Alabama?" He said, 60 minutes.
That's a good quote there. It was interesting. I thought I read somewhere, and like I said, I'm not sure if I'm correct on this. Didn't he, when Vince Dooley was at Georgia, wasn't he trying to he wanted to go back and coach Georgia since he played there, right? Wasn't it something along those lines?
Well, I think what the story is, as I recall, is that they wanted to hire him at Auburn. They wanted to hire Dooley at Auburn.
Right.
And he backed out and Dye got the job. I think I wasn't that tuned into what was going on politically then. I don't know if I was living in the state or not then. I might have been living in New York or Colorado. But I do remember reading that I think he was going to, and he went in and talked to the board and knocked it out of the park, and he got them convinced they could do it. I mean, just the idea that he could actually go in and change the Auburn-Alabama game to a home and home, that was a powerful thing. And it's kind of like Florida, Georgia. People talked about it, but never have done it. I don't see that game ever changing. I hope it doesn't. But he stirred things up in Alabama. I remember my friend Norm Carlson, who worked for Pat Dye. He was his SID. And one day he made the mistake of coming in after Alabama had won. And Norm said, "Hey, Coach Dye, pretty good that Alabama won over the weekend." And actually, this was Suge. This was him. Suge Georgia said, "Ain't a damn thing good that happens to Alabama that's good for Auburn." That's how it was back in those days. So Alabama people and Auburn people, they're not exactly the same.
No, we're speaking with Buddy Martin on the Titan MR hotline. Second portion of today's program will be joined by Hall of Famer Jack Youngblood.
Wow. Just wow, Jack Youngblood. Man, what a special player. I saw him play. Yeah, he and Carlos Alvarez were teammates Carlos's last year, who you had on. I think I'm going to have him on earlier. And Jack Youngblood, such a stud, man. Such a stud.
He had a tremendous career, no doubt. Buddy, a couple other Gator notes that happened over the weekend. Andrew Nembhard takes his name out of the NBA draft, but now is going to transfer Was that a surprise to you?
Yes and no. I had a number of people on my show asking last night, a friend Dan, others saying, "What's the deal with Nemhart?" Franz and I were on. And Franz Beard's thought is that he didn't fit in the system. A team that wants to run and he slows it down. He kind of drives me crazy as a point guard. The way he brings the ball up is so deliberate. He takes people out of play. And they got good young players, and the point guard's job is not to dribble, it's to distribute the basketball. Now, having said that, when he was hot, he could knock it down those threes. He was a protector of the basketball, but I was a little surprised it happened. I was surprised to read this morning. He said that the coronavirus played a part in his decision because, as you know, he was going to come out and then didn't for whatever reason. Maybe the evaluation wasn't that good, and then he decided to come back but go in the transfer portal. So I'm a little bit surprised about it. I know some Gator fans are upset, but they tell me the guy coming up behind him is going to be better. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We got plenty of athletes there. So UAA looks like kids are going back on campus. My son has had his COVID test. Starts workouts next Monday, June 8th. It's going to be an interesting process. The way they're, I think only like 10 or 12 football players can work out at a time. They're going to have the weight room is going to be in the indoor facility all spread out with the doors open. Some interesting times, but at least we're moving back in the right direction of hopefully kicking off college football.
Well, you know more about this than we do because you have a son in the program, Luke, and I think our consensus is kind of that they're doing it the right way. That they're being cautious. They have. I read the whole manifesto last night. Your friend and mine sent it out, a draft of what they plan to do to bring people back. It's not official yet, and they're really being cautious with it. And it seems that the University of Florida Health, UF Health, is going to be deciding everything. I mean, the whole school is going to go by the protocols of what the UF Health says. Here's a statement, by the way, that came out about that. It's a generic statement. In terms of athletic activity, University of Florida Athletic Association has developed, implemented, and will regularly update plans for return of its employees, student athletes in accordance with UF's policies, as well as applicable NCAA and Southeastern Conference standards. The athletic department plans to also been anchored by the expertise of UF Health and the department. And they go and talk about that. So UF Health having a big role in that, which I think is a good idea. We just don't know, right? So it's good. I'm just so hopeful. Look, here's the thing, Shane. If I said to you, what is your state of mind right now about everything, about football, about the country, about the problems we got, the demonstrations, the unbelievable brutality that the black people have been inflicted by police, etc. And I say, Shane, today, how do you feel about that? What is the one word you would use?
Concerned.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about our country, obviously, what's going on. I hate watching it because I don't quite understand it. And then I think the lack of sports going on in our country has caused, I don't want to say it's caused any of this, but I think it would be very helpful right now if Major League Baseball was playing and we were in the basketball NBA playoffs, because I think so many people have been just, caught up in their households during this virus. I don't want to say locked up in their homes, but not able to do much. And then we have what happened up in Minneapolis. It's just caused chaos. And so there's a lot of concern, like you said, for our country right now. And I think the only thing that I can think of right now that will be a bright spot for me personally would be for sports to come back, because I think that would take our minds off other things. And obviously we got to get the other things corrected. And then it's going to be a long process, and hopefully we can move in the right direction. But, I'm hoping, I think we have to play college football this year.
Well, I agree. What we're needing is a diversion sports has always provided.
Correct.
Even back in the Spanish flu epidemic in 1917, they played baseball, they played sports, and not be able to turn on the television and find a ball game or something is a great diversion. Add into that the health situation that's all scary. We're all scared about that. You added to that the economy with 40 million people being without jobs. You added to that people being housebound, not getting out of their house. I haven't been out of my house to speak of in almost 70 days. I add all that stuff in there, and it's explosive. And then you turn on television, all you see is violence. It really is something. Here's what I thought about today. My favorite author of all time is Marjorie Kennan Rollins, who wrote Cross Creek, who wrote the Yearlingen song, who's from Cross Creek. And there was a quote in one of her books called Golden Apples, which my uncle used to quote all the time. Man can live without hope, but not for long. And we have to have hope and not despair. How we get to that, I don't know. I can tell you this much. Older Gator fans, they've known what despair is like from the standpoint of their football team for many years. As you say, you grew up in Mississippi, you don't have to deal with that. But it was really a despair for a lot of Gator fans. And all they had was the hope that next year, the famous wait till next year thing, Cubs did an event. They had the Gator fans. They used to say it back in the 50s and 60s. Wait till next year. Always hopeful, but somewhat a little bit of despair in there. You came along at the right time. You helped change all that. And that despair became hope and delivered their goods with the SEC champions after SEC championships. We need more hopeful things in our country right now. I don't know where it's going to come from. There's always been a leader to step up at these times, no matter what we're in, a war or otherwise. Who is the next Winston Churchill of our country? And what about you? What can you do? What can you individually do? Because my black friends tell me, don't sit there and say nothing. Stop being silent. So how do you speak to that? It's hard. We don't know how. We got to learn how. And I'm hopeful, but I feel a little bit of despair myself.
No, I agree with that. Dan says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred business interruption attorneys. When sports came back after 9/11, things felt better. Hopefully soon we can get some normal back. I do agree that if sports come back, it will make everyone feel better. Yeah. But again, that's not going to solve the issues that we're having in our country. The violence is just totally ridiculous. That has nothing to do with protesting or any of that. They're just tearing things up, destroying people's businesses, and stealing is what they're doing.
Very, very, very despairing.
It's a shame. So, buddy, back to the Gators.
Yeah.
I know you said you read that long 17-page. I think that was more for the college, the university students.
Right.
From an athletic standpoint, they're going to follow a lot of, like you said, what UF Health says. But they're going to work out. I think they have about 5 or 6 times that they work out during the day. And as I mentioned, only 10 to 12 players in a group working out, doing their conditioning and all of that. They will still not be able to do meetings as a group. All that still is going to be done via Zoom. So it's still a long ways away, but at least we are getting these athletes back on campus where I think they'll be safe. They'll be able to eat a little bit better. They'll have their protein shakes and all that kind of stuff. Can't eat together. You still have to go out and eat, with your meal plans. But my concern from an athletic standpoint is they're going to need time to get these players back acclimated to be ready to play a college football game, because the nutrition, a lot of kids haven't been able to eat properly wherever they have been and train properly. So it's going to take some time.
Yeah, I agree. I know we're rounding down at the time. I'm looking forward to hearing Jack Youngblood. I wanted to say, can I just get one little petty gripe in?
Sure.
You know how I've talked about my long-term buddies plans, I call it, about how to get college football back and get it to the stage it needs to be at to be a viable product for television, to substitute for some of the things they cannot do with filled stadiums. And that is to make it a better TV product. And it begins with getting a better schedule, getting rid of cupcake games. I'm anti-cupcake. I have been for a long time, and I wish someone would do something. But ADs are falling into the same trap. And here's why. They obviously want to do something that's both profitable and helpful. Yesterday it was announced that LSU has now put back on the schedule, and at first blush, it seems like a really good thing. Southern University, the great black school, will play LSU in Tiger Stadium on in 2022, and Grambling will play on September 9th, 2023 in Tiger Stadium. On the surface, looks like a good thing, right?
Mhm.
It's really not, because you're devaluing the tickets for the season ticket holder by scheduling those games. They're money makers. Yes, it's true. Those schools could use help. And yes, they could get some money for that. They need badly. And it looks like it's, but this is not football welfare. I'm sorry. There's a place they can play those games. They could even schedule a spring game with these guys. Let them come in and play them there and charge them money and give them all the money. There's got to be something different. You cannot keep diluting the product. You got to make it better for all concerned. Who's going to watch on TV LSU and Southern and LSU and Grambling except hardcore LSU fans? They got to do something about this, protect the brand, and stop scheduling cupcake games.
All right, buddy. We appreciate you joining the program. Look forward to seeing you tonight on your show. Be safe out there, my man, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Shane. Be well. Talk to you tonight.
All right, that's Buddy Martin. You can follow him on Twitter at the Buddy Show. Folks, at Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida. I understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. To learn more, visit centerstatebank.com. Center State Bank, member FDIC. We're going to take our first time out of the program. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Hall of Famer, about every Hall of Fame you can be in, the Gator great Jack Youngblood. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. The Best Restoration, Masters of Disasters. Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. Peachland Dental, Gator fans' first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Aikido America Martial Arts and After School,
Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish,
Radware, Rap Spot. If you are interested in promoting your business on this show, you can visit our website, podupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support this show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Point is where the Gators come to celebrate, with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Palmetto Moon, Skechers, Starbucks, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, Select Shades, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, the HBC Zoo Restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. Well, the next guy did a lot of celebrating in both the NFL and as a Gator. Let's welcome Jack Youngblood to the program. Good morning, Jack. How are you?
What's going on?
Not much. We appreciate you taking some time to join Matthews in the Morning. Jack, what I like to talk to all the former athletes, let's go back, way back when you were a youngster, up in Monticello.
That's a long way back, brother.
Long way. So try to think back. You were a great football player. Did you play any other sports in high school?
Played a little baseball. But then the coaches kind of directed me in a different direction, and said you need to stay over here rather than going over this place.
I got you. Well, when you look at obviously Ray Graves was the head coach at Florida when you came out. What other schools recruited you pretty heavily, and did you always want to be a Gator, or were there other schools that you thought about going to?
What was another school? I'm not sure. I understand you.
I got you.
Shane, there was only one and only one offer.
Okay.
To go to school, and it came at as we were winning the championship in 1966 when Class B championship, and a gentleman grabbed me by the arm and said, Jack, how would you like to be a Florida Gator? I said, let me think about that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There was only one scholarship offer, and I had no idea about it.
That's pretty cool. How big were you when you signed your scholarship as a defensive lineman? Well, you were a linebacker in high school. How big were you though when you signed your scholarship?
I was I was 6'4", and I had grown real fast in those 4 years in high school. But I only weighed about 215 pounds. I mean, I had my ears, were looked like they were aircraft workers. So, I mean, I was skin and bones. I put on 45 pounds in the 4 years that I was there in Gainesville.
So when you came here, Jack, obviously you came in as a linebacker. They moved you down to defensive end. I was reading a little bit. What's surprising to me is you were also the kicker. Like when you got ready to kick a field goal, did they have to call timeout for you to go put the old school square toe shoe on?
Absolutely. I was the middle linebacker. I was the defensive end. I was the kicker. I was the backup punter, and I was the backup snapper. I figured out that that if you could do several things, coach will keep you around for a while.
Right.
And I mean, I used to. I kicked a game-winning field goal in the opening ball game in Houston when I was a senior. I mean, it was, and then I got a ball blocked when I was at the Senior Bowl, and they're not supposed to rush the passer. I mean, the kicker, and I got the ball blocked. That's hard to do.
Yeah. Jack, we got a text here on the Titan MR text line from George. George wants to know, what was your favorite rivalry game to play in as a Gator?
Georgia. Yeah, going up to Jacksonville. The excitement that was, it was out of town, and it was a huge emotional ball game. It was for the right of the state. Who was going to be dominant that year. It was going through our mind as the players. Going to Jacksonville and playing in the Gator Bowl was really a big one, and Florida State was too. We spanked their fanny 4 times. So I mean, we got the better end of that deal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We're speaking with Jack Youngblood on the Titan MR hotline. If you got a text for him, you can send it to 352-353-7465 or send in a question on Facebook Live. Jack, you had a great career here at the University of Florida. You get drafted by the Rams. You go in there, I want to say Deacon Jones, who was one of the great defensive linemen of all time, was there. They ended up trading him away. Tell us a little bit about Deacon Jones. Did y'all get along? Did he help the youngster out? Because, you know, sometimes those veterans in the NFL don't want to help the young guy out, and there are some that do. How was it playing with Deacon Jones?
Shane, I've said this all of my career, ever since I was drafted by the Rams. I've always loved both Deacon and Merlin Olsen. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for those two guys, I probably wouldn't have been the player that I became. Both of them, at one point in time in that first year as a rookie, they put their arm around me and said, "Son, you can play, but you've got to let us show you how to play." And I became all ears at that point. I said, "Thank you," and yes, sir. They were sirs. They were still, you know, my elder when I got to LA, and both of them were just tremendous athletes and tremendous, you know, human beings. Loved them both.
We got another text here on the Titan MR text line. It comes from Fred. And Fred says, "Jack, you were a Gator when they were introducing the drink Gatorade. How was it when you were
here?" Yeah. Gatorade, it was horrible. I mean, good gracious, it was something that they made in the locker room, in the training room every morning. And it literally was made in a number 10 wash tub, and they would change the recipe just a little bit here and there, trying to get it just right. We'd be on the sideline, and that number 10 wash tub was right there, and we had 10 cups that we would go over to the wash tub and dip us a cup full. We're having a little scrimmage going on, and Mike Kelly, my middle linebacker, who I love dearly, although he took my position, and and Mike went over and dipped his cup in, and he started chugging, and he fainted, and he fell over backwards. I mean, just like somebody had shot him. And we're all standing around him, and everybody's looking at their cup and going, "Oh, hell no, we're not drinking that anymore." The cold knocked Mike out. It wasn't the Gatorade, it was the cold.
Let's go back to the Rams. You were fortunate enough to play in 5 NFC championship games. You made it to 1 Super Bowl. But let's talk about the NFC championship game where they put you in a brace with a broken leg. How in the world? I know you're a tough dude now, and I've seen defensive linemen play with broken arms and wrists or what have you. But how in the world did you play with a broken leg?
It was not pretty. Let's put it that way. It was not pretty. It was one of those issues that I had lived all along. I was the captain of the football team, and it was my responsibility to try and do anything and everything I could do to give us an opportunity to win and win a championship. It was very painful. There's no question about that, and it was one of those issues where it was, if you're there, if I'm there, my guys are going to follow me. Mm-hmm. And that was the principle behind it. It wasn't about whether I could get around the corner and sack Terry. Terry Bradshaw. It wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't about that. It was about leading our football team, and we did a pretty good job. You know, although in that fourth quarter they scored 2 touchdowns on us and won the Super Bowl 14. But it was all about leadership and trying to help my football team win the ball game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, Jack, you know, you played a long time in the NFL, and everyone's goal is to get and win a Super Bowl. And you play in 5 NFC championship games. You only get to 1 Super Bowl, and unfortunately, you lose it. What was it like, though, getting to that Super Bowl, and how long did it take you to get over that loss to the Steelers and Terry Bradshaw?
Well, to get over it, that lingered a while. We got knocked out 4 times. One twice by Minnesota and twice by Dallas, and we finally got there in '79. And that scar lasted a little bit longer than the other ones. In the other ball games, the championship ball games, it lasted a little longer because we firmly believed we could win. You know, and you got to remember, you know, they had 3 rings already. Terry had won, you know, 3 Super Bowls. So that was something that, you know, they realized what the issue was about, and that was the first time we'd gotten there, and it was very important for us to we made the issue come alive. We could play with them, and we made them understand that we could play at your level.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a while. It took a while to get over those emotions.
Yeah, I'm sure. We got a question here on a Facebook Live brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred business interruption attorney. Dan wants to know, there have been movies about how hard and physical some of those old practices were at Alabama with Bear Bryant. Was it like that too when you were at Florida back then? And also, how tough were your Rams practices back in the day?
Well, you know, the main thing about practice was the weather conditions. To be honest, I mean, you had to be in shape, and they were a little bit physical. I mean, we in college and with the Rams, they were a little bit physical, but the issue really was the weather, the climate, and whether or not you could go out and play and not lose 15 pounds of water. And that has happened several times with a lot of players back in the day.
Jack, talk a little bit about, you were the first Gator to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I believe that was in 2001. Talk about how special that was. I mean, you're in the Florida Ring of Honor, you're in the Rams deal, you're in the College Football Hall of Fame, but every player's ultimate goal is to make it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Talk about how special that was for you.
That was a big day. There's no question about that. You know, there was when you played in the game, you come through college, you come through school, and you get the opportunity to go to an NFL team, which I had no idea who I was going to. I mean, it's not the draft is nothing back in my day like it is today. It's a different world of how it operates. then to go along and to be there for 14 years and not miss a ball game until the last year, until the 14th year. I mean, I played in 201 consecutive ball games.
Wow.
And that might not have been smart, but I mean, but I had the passion and the love of the game, and then to get and to be on that list, just to be nominated for the Hall of Fame was truly in my mind was enough. Just to be nominated for it. That says yeah, you were pretty good. You're a pretty good player. Well, and then to have people like Merlin Olsen and Deacon Jones, be my mentors. That really was an honor that I could play at their level.
No doubt about it. Well, that's a tremendous honor. There's no question about it. We're speaking with Jack Youngblood here on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. We got another Facebook Live question for you from Todd, brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred business interruption attorneys. Todd wants to know, what was your favorite Gator game that you played in? One that stands out the most.
Oh my goodness. Let me think about that. I mean, we played Georgia. No, I'm sorry. We played Tennessee up there my senior year, and they had this. This always has stuck in my head. They had the people who made their jerseys. I'm not sure what company it was at that point. I should remember it. But they used a fabric that was kind of acid treated, and it was a tearaway. Mm-hmm. And I came around the corner, and I can't remember the quarterback's name right now. But anyway, I came around the corner and I reached in and I slapped him right in the chest and grabbed that jersey and snatched it. And off came his number, and I'm standing there with nothing but his number off the front of his jersey, and then I went, damn, I got to get more than this. That was a heck of a ball game. Going up to Tennessee was something else. It was an experience.
When you go back to your pro career, was there one offensive lineman, left tackle, right tackle, what have you, that you did not want to have to face, that you just dreaded going into that week?
None of them.
None of them. Okay.
I didn't fear any of them. They, in fact, I look forward to playing against Rayfield Wright, Ron Yeri, oh my gosh, Dan Deerdorf. Those were the best ones back in the 70s and 80s, and they brought the best out of me. When you're playing against the best, you better have your game together.
Right.
And I enjoyed that, and it created a relationship with those guys from that point forward. We've been tremendous friends ever since we put on our helmets and tied the cleats. We've been really good, and I literally enjoyed playing against the best.
Jack, I got this question. You played obviously all your career with the Rams, and then when Coach Spurrier, he's a little bit older than you, he was basically a backup behind John Brody with the 49ers, and y'all being in the same division. Did you ever get a chance to blindside old number 11 Coach Spurrier?
Yeah, yeah, and he didn't like it. He didn't like it. We were up there. We were in San Francisco, and he was playing. Brody was something was wrong with Brody, and Steve was playing, and I knocked him down a couple of times, and about the third time I got in the backfield with him, knocked him down, and he goes, Jack, why are you so mean to me? And I went, because you got the ball in your hand, damn it.
That's good stuff.
And we both just started laughing.
You have a pretty good relationship with Coach Spurrier because he's a different character now.
Yeah, kind of. They sometimes quarterbacks have and I know you were one, my man, too. But there was something about a quarterback that they had an attitude.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been my perspective because I was a defensive lineman, and my job was to sack the quarterback, take him out of the ball game. We off the field we did. We had a good relationship.
Good deal. So, Jack, I don't know how much you follow the Florida football program now. Obviously, Coach Spurrier came in. We did some wonderful things under his leadership. Had some down years. Urban came in. We won 2 national titles. Then another lull. And now Dan Mullen, in his 2 years here, we won 21 games, won 2 major bowl games. From afar, what have you seen that you like about Dan Mullen, what he's done with the football program?
I think Dan's done one heck of a job putting this thing back together and winning what he needs to win. As long as Dan is winning the Eastern Conference, the Eastern Division, I should say, and moving forward, we're going in the right direction. And the thing that I love about what Dan's doing is that it's not really just about the athleticism of his players that he's bringing in. It's their character. He's bringing in both athletes and good people, and that will pay big dividends for us for a long time.
No doubt. Talk a little bit about when you were inducted into the Ring of Honor. There's only a handful of Gators up there and only a handful that qualify. How special was that for you to have number 74 put up in the swamp for the rest of lifetime, pretty much?
That's that was another one of those days that they're really almost unbelievable, and you experience them and you appreciate them, and sometimes you question them. You go, how in the world did I do that? But it was one of those moments in your career that you really appreciate, because it reminds you of the great days that we had there in Gainesville.
When you go back, whether it was college or pro, as a defensive lineman, and your job was to sack the quarterback on passing situations, was there a quarterback in college and also in the National Football League that you just were licking your chops and you couldn't wait to just bury him? Who were some of those guys, if you don't mind telling us? Some of those guys that you
Fran Tarkenton.
Fran Tarkenton.
I mean, there's no question about that. I'm still looking for him. When we get together, and we do several times a year, we get together. and we'll be at a cocktail party or something, and he'll be having a conversation, and I'll walk up and I'll just put my arm around him and kind of just squeeze his shoulder just a little bit and go, one of these days I'm gonna get you. and we both just start laughing. and he was, he and Roger were very elusive. They were hard to catch. In fact, I think Roger had eyes in the back of his helmet somehow. I mean, he used to have that reverse out move. The clock would go off in his head when he knew that 2.3 seconds is all I have here, and he would reverse out and cause all kind of problems for somebody that was coming, in the opposite direction, trying to catch him.
So, how is Jack Youngblood's body feeling after all the years of physical play on the defensive line? Feeling okay?
Well, you think about, what in the world did I do? How did I do all of that? And I'm blessed, Shane. I'm blessed way beyond what I deserve. We tried our best. It was my responsibility to max it out, to use every opportunity that I had. The good Lord had given me that opportunity, and it was my responsibility to use it, and to use it to the best. And I tried my everything I possibly could to do that. Every snap. It wasn't about taking one off. You don't take a play off when you're the captain of the football team, and it's your responsibility to lead those other 10 guys that are on the field with you. It was one play at a time, and you give it your all, everything you possibly have in that next play, because you only have one more play.
Well, Jack, I really do appreciate you taking time to join the show today. I know the Gator Nation loves hearing from one of the greatest Gators of all time. We appreciate it. You stay safe, my man, and we'll talk to you soon.
Shane, appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Yep, that's the great Jack Youngblood. He's in pretty much every Hall of Fame there is, and we appreciate him taking the time to join Potto with Matthews in the morning on the Titan MRI hotline. This Day in Sports, which is brought to you by The Best Restoration. Do you have COVID-19 concerns? Do what everyone is doing and hire The Best Restoration to fully sanitize and sterilize your home or office. Visit their offices this week for a free bottle of hand sanitizer when you mention the code Shane. Call them at 352-234-8994. This Day in Sports back in 1935. I don't know if any of our listeners were around back then, but old Babe Ruth at age 40 announces his retirement as a baseball player. That's brought to you by The Best Restoration. Also, folks, don't forget, have you and your friends follow our show. You can listen to us not only on Facebook Live, but YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Jackie Spreads will be here this week with his guest later on. Gator Nation's, he's brought to you by Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and the surrounding areas. I really want to thank Buddy Martin. You can check out his show weeknights around 9 o'clock on Facebook Live, The Buddy Martin Show, for joining us. And, of course, the Gator great, Jack Youngblood, with a tremendous interview. We appreciate him taking time to join us. So that's going to be a wrap for today's show. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from WrapSpot. June is your lucky month at WrapSpot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Visit them at wrapspot.com today. So that's a wrap for today. We'll be back tomorrow. Great show. Mary Wise, volleyball coach at Florida, and Peter Burns, from ESPN, the SEC Network. That's a wrap. Enjoy today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.